Merry Christmas, folks. Welcome to another edition of the Housecoat Chat. Your dude in the housecoat. Justice Truth. Let me get my shades on again. That's right, folks. I don't want really my glasses on or whatever. I sometimes don't like the look of myself because I got Bell's palsy. But anyway, Merry Christmas. Welcome to another Housecoat Chat, number 63. And all I gotta say is thank you all for attending, listening, and everything else, and appreciation for all the support that I've been given and encouragement. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is much, 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 much appreciated. And all that, folks, remember the scone. Yes, the scone is lit. If you lost a loved one, such as myself, I always light one before a show in honor and memory, and then all the things that go on in the world, the atrocities and anything else like that. Maybe you're missing a loved one or whatever happened in Bondi Beach and beyond, or all the other things that go on in this world. Yeah, regardless, the scone is lit. And positive vibes to all of you as well, folks. I know Christmas time is supposed to be a happy time of the year for a lot of people. If you're feeling down, some positive vibes out there to you. That's all I will have to say. That tomorrow is another day. And yes, it is closer to Christmas. But remember, folks, there are people out there that do think of you that are not doing all that well, such as myself. That's why I say positive vibes and all that. So let's get right into it, folks. I just saw something that made me laugh my butt off. And it's really all about our whole hysteria with climate change, the green agenda, and all that wonderful stuff. It's in Canada, we ban plastic straws and cutlery and other things like that to try and save the environment, right? To try and save it. We have a beautifully clean country with a wonderful recycling program, good landfill policies, all that, right? And we are now going to, after all this time of banning the cutlery, we are now going to make it in the country. We are going to make plastic straws and the cutlery and the plates again, basically. But we as citizens, folks, we can't use it. The ivory tower people have said no, and we're just going to export it. You know what that kind of tells me? That our dollar has dropped to such a point that basically the Canadians now can make cheap plastic straws because of the value of our dollar, so we can send it elsewhere, such as America. And we are their closest neighbor, aren't we? And that is the laughable situation that is, right? Oh, we're going to ban you and me from actually using a plastic straw. I never accept a paper straw from any of the fast food restaurants or restaurants that I've gone to. Mind you, it's a lot less now. We almost ate at A&W on the way home yesterday, but we decided against it, and nothing against A&W, even with all their issues in Quebec saying that they need the temporary foreign workers program, but we're talking about climate change stuff here. I know this YouTube's going to label me. YouTube, label me all you want. I'm just a dude in a housecoat. People read. That's all I got to say. Just read. Come to your own conclusions. I could be fancy ass and make a computer show with all the graphs and all the information out there to say, hey, look at this, look at this, look at this. But instead, I just want to be a normal human being because AI is starting to make people look like real people, and you can have a discussion with somebody that's completely artificial and not even know it because of technology today. So with my crazy backdrop and no actual images of anything like that, or graphs and bars and everything else, and hey, look, I'm such a smarty pants. Look what I dug up. I have nothing against those people. Those people are fine. They do a wonderful job on their shows, presenting stuff. But I'm just a dude in a housecoat that says, hey, Canada, the world, open your eyes, read more. Don't trust what they keep shoving down our throats. And again, let's get back to climate change stuff and everything else like that. We have a new issue. I guess apparently it would be methane. And yet I just read the meteorologist thing from Canada, meteorologists, the so-called weather people. They know climate, right? They know the atmosphere, right? And they're saying how masculine and how small of a problem methane is actually in Canada. Remember, folks, we're in a huge country. And I know back in the day when I've seen stuff like The Inconvenience Truth with Al Gore, right? Remember that? Rising sea levels, all that, emissions from all these different oil and gas industries. And yeah, I've seen the images back in the day of the old facilities where like the gases were just being released. The fire stacks, those big tall things they light, and there's a huge fireball in the sky. Yeah, we used to burn a lot of that stuff, but now we're capturing a lot of it and using it. We have very little issues in the way of methane in this country, including the cow farts, folks. And then you know what? Out of the American Research Farm University, I'm not even going to mention the name, but there's a research that was done on cows and the benefits of cows to the environment. And they don't just fart methane and destroy our planet, folks. They actually help the soil grow with their urine, their feces, and just walking around because they dig up stuff, they aerate the soil and everything else, and they eat the vegetation. And then that vegetation turns into fuel for the cow, and then eventually a juicy, delicious steak or a hamburger, roast, you name it. And don't forget the cows provide leather. They also provide bone marrow and a host of other things, pet food, or clothing are made from it. Stuff is made from cows. And yet, the world people, the ivory tower people of the world, such as Bill Gates and a few others who say, oh, it's such a catastrophe. But what did Bill Gates say a few weeks ago? It's not that big of a deal. Sorry about trying to mislead you all. I'm paraphrasing, folks, but that's essentially it. But yet in Canada, we have a bunch of retards still in the office that, we got to do all these things. I mean, even Stephen Gilbert has left the cabinet over what Mark Carney has supposedly done with the memo of understanding regarding a pipeline for Alberta to get its product out. Well, I got news for a lot of you people who think you're going to actually froth that issue of making a pipeline to the coast. It may not go to the BC coast. It may go down into Washington again. And why, beyond all means of prosperity that this nation could have, why would you allow it to leave the United States to be exported by the United States people when we could take it to the coast, whether it's Rupert, Kitimat, Mission, BC is the close? Yeah, I think Mission is close to the coast. But irregardless, we have several places that we can actually send this oil product out ourselves and allow Canada to prosper. We could have better health care instead of made in waiting, folks. I mean, that poor lady, I know I'm going off on a sidetrack here, but that lady in Saskatchewan with the parathyroid, which is a condition that is treatable and curable, and our government said, sorry, you had to wait so long to try and see your specialist, but here's made in the meantime. Holy smokes, folks. That is horrible. Our country, woo! But anyways, back to the green stuff, folks. The green industry. I mean, my goodness. Here we are pumping out, we got to do this, got to do that. Alberta, with its going over to windmills and solar plants, can't even keep up, right? They can't keep up. But let's take out the natural gas plants. Let's take out the coal plants, right? And end it all. Look at what happened to Germany when they ended all their nuclear freaking power. The country's imploding. There's no longer, I guess, Volkswagen. I believe it's Volkswagen, folks. It's no longer made in Germany. It's failed that bad. Volkswagen or the other big brand, BMW. Anyways, a major German car manufacturer can no longer build in Germany. Figure that out. And for what? Green energy, and get this. So they implode all that stuff, right? But what do? They get all their oil and natural gas basically from Russia, whom they're supposedly fighting in support of Ukraine. But get this, and I know I'm not really talking about green stuff, but this is just extra little bit of knowledge, is the European Union has basically given more money to Russia for the energy that they get. Don't forget about Nord Stream pipeline and all that other stuff that's going on that got blown up. It might be operational again. I don't know. But I do know is that they have actually given more money to Russia than they have to Ukraine, whereas Canada and the United States have given bucket loads to Ukraine. And, and how's that war going? Is that green? You know what I mean? Are they using battery power tanks and stuff like that? Are they, is the bullets made out of reusable? You know what I mean? Is it recycled? It's stupid, folks. It's stupid. And then let's get to the next thing that I really want to talk about, because here we are destroying all our energy programs within our country. And yet there's something that's rising, and that's because of AI. And AI needs a lot of data centers. Now, Canada is in a good position for these things because of our climate, because they don't need to be, they run hot. So our weather is almost good for that, except the summer months. But it's cold long enough that they could probably make it viable. And these things need massive, massive amount of power and water. And then, you know what? I mean, the hypocrisy is amazing. I know there's a race for AI, China, European Union, United States, all these countries are trying to grapple with the rise of AI. And it is a wonderful technology. I've used it to help me solve computer issues just by asking the AI agent a few questions, and it was able to help me along, and I was great, love it. But these data centers and these giant AI buildings are going to suck up so much power that us as consumers that live in tiny homes and trying to just get by in life are going to pay more because we're going to subsidize the fuck out of these things, and we already are, and we don't have the power capacity to try and keep them running. I mean, in BC they put a kind of stopgap. They don't want these data centers in BC because of the power issue. Apparently, BC has power issues. With the BC hydro dam situation that we have going on, I don't understand how they're importing power from Washington, but we are. And then yet here's the flip side of that one, what do you call it, green energy and environmental stuff. There's an American outfit trying to steal a old power facility for a pulp mill, and now it's being used to run the town. It's actually keeping things cheap in the area. They want to take it away from the people so they can ship the power to the states. And that's one of Mark Carney's companies trying to do that, folks. Think on that. Now, I know, like I said earlier, that, like I don't have anything fancy or anything to show you. Well, you know what? You don't have to stare at the screen. Set your device down. Go do your dishes. Do whatever it is that you got to do and just have a listen. If you enjoy looking at my face while I talk, well, thank you. But anyways, I'm not here to actually try and convince you of anything other than to say you need to read, maybe open your mind up and ask questions, folks. That is the best thing you can do, I mean, seriously, like I just asked X on X and Grok and Starlink, could you please tell me about the failure rate of the satellites that are falling out of the sky and burning up in our atmosphere? Because apparently there is a huge amount of debris from space, the satellites and all that are falling into the atmosphere and burning up. You have to think what they're all made of. There's plastic, there's gold, there's silver, palladium, platinum, copper, there is all the other chemicals, plastics, and the gases that might be inside these satellites to keep things running, antifreeze, whatever, like there's a lot of stuff in satellites, and it's being burnt up in our atmosphere. Now, I just saw a special on this from Stephen Burns. If you don't know who Stephen Burns is, please remember the name. Go check him out on YouTube. He's on X. He's probably on all the other Instagrams and everything else like that. But he had a really good program on that, and it blew my mind. The amount of re-entry that they're allowing back into our atmosphere now, because everybody wants to have a constellation of satellites like X has with their Starlink satellite. There's a host of other countries trying to do it. If Quebec Telesat, whatever it's called over there, that's been given billions of our dollars to try and make widespread internet connection by broadband and satellite and stuff like that. Basically a ripoff of X Starlink, and that hasn't even gotten one satellite into space yet. And guess what? We've given that company billions of dollars. That person is friendly with Mark Carney, and this is before he became prime minister. He advised Justin Trudeau to give Telesat a bunch of money, and yet where's the satellites, Telesat? I don't see any satellites in the sky yet, but you got $1 billion of my tax dollars and your tax dollars and everybody else's tax dollars to do what exactly? Well, this country drowns in debt. The green scam is a scam, folks. I hate to say it. Yes, I will say it again. This country is beautiful. We've done many things correctly, but why are we continuously punishing our people? And I might have said it on one of my shows before, and I'll say it here again, is if we are going to improve the world for the environment, why aren't we tariffing countries or punitive, whatever it is that we can do to a country? Let's say, for example, China. I'm only going to pick on China because they have more pollution than almost any other country in the world. Is that if we restrict imports from them or restrict giving them coal until they improve their situation, That'd be far better than punishing grandma who needs to go to the store twice a month, but she's having a hard time keeping it up because the price of fuel, the price of heating her home, all the punitive stuff that they attach to our taxes, our bills. I mean, rate rider this, pipeline fee that, the GST, the PST, you name it. It's all basically a ripoff when we could be sending a message to other countries, right? Like, why are we not using more of our own oil? We can and we should. Why are we enriching Saudi Arabia? Why are we enriching all the other countries down south? Like Venezuela. I do believe we bought oil from Venezuela, but I don't think we're going to get any oil from them anytime soon because of the blockade of the United States. And folks, where all that stuff that's going on down in Venezuela, I know I'm talking about the green stuff, but we will shift slightly to that because I want to point something out. Everybody's upset that we're blowing up drug boats that are coming across from Venezuela and other countries. Well, I have happy to say, blow them the fuck up. Why? Because it is killing people in this country. I don't care what you say and if it's mean or whatever. Barack Obama holds the most records for kills with a drone on civilians than any other U.S. president has to this date, unless it was a wartime president. Go figure that one out, folks. That is atrocious, and I know it's barbaric, but guess what? If you're in the open seas, it's pirates. Okay, you're a pirate basically if you're doing criminal activity, and it's fair game. I mean, there was a rumor, and I looked it up because I'm like, this story is nuts. Where apparently, if you were a Russian boating company, it was offering you a chance to shoot pirates off the coast of Somalia, and that turned out not to be true. But I had to go down that rabbit hole because, wow, what a vacation experience that would be, eh? Sit on a boat and you're basically like a giant honey trap for all these Somalian pirates, and they come up to you. You got a 50 caliber, like it said in the little news story. It turned out to be false, folks. But can you imagine that? Shooting people that are coming at you trying to steal your boat or the goods on your boat, and you get to retaliate for fun? Oh, I mean, that's barbaric and everything else, and all completely inhumane, right? But the thought of killing people that are drug runners, that have disrupted lives in our country and in North America, all around the world, basically. I mean, I don't care. I mean, I don't mind the marijuana. I don't mind the alcohol and stuff like that. All these lower class, so-called alcohol and drugs, I don't mind those at all. But the people that I've seen that are in Prince George that are hooked on fentanyl, who are hooked on the opioids, who are hooked on these drugs, I feel for them, and we should be stopping it. And I'm thankful that somebody like President Trump is actually taking the consideration of trying to end it because, like he said, and like many have spoken, more people die from overdoses than there is in the Second World War for Americans and Canadians. We do have more overdoses in this country than we've had actual people killed in wars. And I think we should try and correct that. Now, I don't know. I haven't been in Calgary in years. I wish I could go. I got my father there. I love the Calgary Flames, but the way the world's going, my health and everything else, I'm not employed anymore. I'm on disability for health reasons. But I'm seeing the downtown where the people are standing around doing the fentanyl walk, just like the downtown east side in Vancouver. It's just sad to see. And yet in my province, we give out the crack pipes, we give out the needles, but we close the ER to Vanderhoof on the weekends, or Mission, BC, or we're losing pediatric care people in Kamloops, I believe. And then there's a whole host of other issues that our hospitals are going through. We're drowning in debt, yet we're giving money to the poverty pimps in downtown East Side to continue the charade of compassionate care. It is not compassionate care at all, folks. It is atrocious, atrocious. And I really wish we had help for these addicts. I really wish we didn't give out these drugs because guess what, folks? If you're not giving out free stuff, you're not actually creating new people. I mean, yes, the illegal market and everything else, and somebody wants to find it or get introduced to it and they get hooked on it. That's sad to see, but why is the government Here's some free methadone. Why don't you take these pills, go downtown, sell it to the unsuspecting kids who are looking for an experience of getting a high, and then go and finding the hard drug that killed your best friend yesterday. That's what blows me away. Aaron Gunn, who is now an MP in our government, made a documentary, made two, I believe. One is Vancouver is dying, and the other one is Canada is dying, basically describing the drug situation. And I do hope Aaron Gunn stays in the federal level. I would love to see him be the premier of BC, but until the threat of Mark Carney and the Ivory Tower stooges that are trying to control this nation are gone, please, Aaron, stay in the federal politics. I'm begging you. If you come and become a member of the BC Party for the Conservative, I wish you luck. But I'd rather you stay in the federal as a news junkie, a political junkie. I think that is where you're needed. Please, please consider staying federally. Down the road, yes, jump back into provincial if you like, but we need you there. The floor crosser stuff is nuts. I know I'm rambling. This is a rant. This is me. I'm like a radio host back in the day. Like I said, you don't have to look at the screen. Just listen. Listen, folks, that's all I ask. Please do reading. Do your own research. Again, I like to say I'm a dude in a housecoat. I may be wrong, but I am asking you to look it up yourself and not be so trustworthy of our media people. Seriously, yes, there are plenty of people online that are not so good. And yes, there are plenty of people online that are left-leaning and they're right-leaning. There's very few centrists. I will say an individual like Frank Vaughn, very good, well-researched guy. I like listening to him. He does excellent stuff. I like listening to Moose on the Loose. He is very presentable with his stuff. Like at the left, let's just say I do listen to Rachel Gilmore. It's hard sometimes, but there are times when I agree with her and stuff. But you know what? You have to be balanced. You have to look at both sides of the issue, and you really should look at the left side and the right side. And it doesn't mean you have to come to the middle. It just means you should listen. And that is the most important thing you can do. I mean, I just recently read, Global had an interview with Pierre Poilievre. I do believe the lady's last name that did the interview was Friesen. I don't think it's Barber, but anyways, they edited it to fit their narrative, folks. Instead of giving an honest interview of Pierre Poilievre, and I'm not a Pierre Poilievre supporter, but they did not give it a fair handshake and a fair viewing to the public. They edited to make it fit their narrative, to make Pierre look a little worse than he really is. Also, if we remember, Rosie Barton and Carney had an interview, and she never pushed enough back against Carney for his assertion of what's going on in this country. He is blaming Donald Trump for Canada turning to China to look for trade deals, when in actuality it happened a long, long time ago with trade in China and Canada. Mark Carney is not here for Canada. He is here for himself. He is here for Brookfield. I've read his book Values and everything else, the people he's surrounding himself with. Now, the new ambassador to the United States, Brett Wiseman, last name is Wiseman, I'm pretty sure. He was with the 100 initiative or whatever it's called. It's basically asking Canada to grow its population to $100 million, $100 million people by the year 2100. That is insane. Now, I would like to see a rise in people in Canada give birth to children versus having a super influx of people that have no real ties to this country and are given benefits galore. I mean, I am shocked at the amount of benefits that we give newcomers to get them a start here when I see seniors struggling to get by and living on their old age security, while a new family gets 4 times or 5 times the amount that they get from the government, and they get subsidies on top of that. And it's amazing. 1 year of wage subsidies, folks, for a lot of these newcomers to top them up. That's why you see a lot of newcomers with nice vehicles. Isn't that something? I mean, when I grew up, my family bought me a 1979 Ford Pinto. That's what I got. Nice car, red and black with the racing stripes. I mean, it was a Pinto, and, very nice car, I will admit. The previous owner kept it good. It was bought at the auction, but that was my first car. I didn't get the government to give me a new car. Did you get a new car from the government? Did you get a big, huge, lump sum payment from the government? Here you go. Here's a housing allowance. Here's a child startup thing and everything else like that. And, it's just wow. Wow and wow. Our government is nuts. And I'll tell you why it's nuts. And I'm not trying to be racist. I'm not trying to be Islamophobic, Jewish, anti-Semitic, or anything like that. I'm just a dude in a housecoat who's watched the news, followed my government. If we have too many people in our House of Parliament that are not born here, who think it's fine that we should invite more people here, I'm fine with inviting people here, but not too many if we can't afford it, not too many if the job market is crushing, not too many if the housing issue is a problem, right? We got to grow this country, but it should be done responsibly. And our government's talk of making buildings is such a horseshit story and a waste of money. Again, our tax dollars, mine, yours, and everybody else's. And the only people that are going to benefit are the friends of Mark Carney, who he's put into place, such as the lady who used to run ATCO Alberta, I believe. She's a part of ATCO, the building trailer company and stuff like that, and a host of other things. But yeah, she's got a $20 million office with one employee. What's that one employee going to do? And why is there like $20 million? That could be wrong in the number, folks, but it's in the millions. Why does she need millions? Why do we need another middleman, another layer of red tape to try and get anything done here? Even though, despite what Mark Carney says, well, we're trying to cut the regulations and stuff, and we need offices to do. Come here, Zuzu. My cat's going to make an entrance. Anyways, folks, it is nuts. We need to cut regulations and red tape, not add more or make it so that Mark Carney can bypass stuff. In the budget, folks, he wanted to give cabinet ministers the ability to shield people from scrutiny and a host of other things besides criminality, like actual criminality. Shield them, and the cabinet can make the decision. That cabinet minister. No, no, and no. Come on, Zuzu. Anyways, my cat is here. I like Zeus. If he comes close by, I'll pick him up and show you off, but I'm not going to jump out of camera to get him. Right, Zeus? You can come back, Zeus. Anyways, yes, and the other thing that's going on, folks, in the government, and everybody should open their eyes up, is like all the censorship bills and everything else. And then also, I think I need to go and talk about, I believe, Vesper Studios, Wiretap Media, I believe. They reprinted this video. I watched. It was 2 hours presentation where this gentleman basically wanted to know why our government is operating the way it is, and nobody has been held accountable for anything, really. And it goes back to John A. MacDonald. This is how far back the problem goes, because they realized back then that they had an issue of MPs that maybe blackmailed, bribed, scamming the public, basically, for their self-enrichment. John A. MacDonald believed at the time that the best way to punish these MPs is at the ballot box. Kind of makes sense, right? But there was no real accountability. And I'm not going to try and tell you the whole story, but basically what it basically means, since the time of John A. MacDonald, no sitting government that's in power has decided to try and take the corrective action to make an MP, prime minister, accountable. That is why you see such a huge array of offices around the prime minister, the PBO, the public, there are so many things that are around the prime minister's office to shield the prime minister of accountability. But we have no actual way of making them accountable. I mean, it is an amazing video. Like I said, I don't want to have to show you a bunch of stuff. I think people need to read more and get out of their bubbles of reading the newspaper, so to speak, or watching just the CBC News. You really need to take a dive down other avenues and quit having horse blinders on, because the world is changing, and it's rapidly changing, folks. I mean, seriously. The stuff that's going on, the video that I'm describing, like I said, was 2 hours long. I'm going to try and watch it again so that I can maybe talk a bit more about it on this show. So hopefully people can understand what I'm saying. And I'll hopefully have the name of the person who's actually spoke up in the video, who he is, so that you may judge it for yourself. And it is a good dive. But like I said, it was 2 hours long. And it blew my mind. They even tried to correct it in the 1920s, I believe, and hopefully I'll have better, better, so-called. I'm running out of words here, but anyways, all I'm saying is that in the mid 1920s, the British Crown at that time quashed any accountability bill that was happening in the House of Commons. They tossed it. The British Crown, folks, before we kind of went to the maple leaf flag and so-called said we're not really doing anything with the monarchy, but we're so tied into the monarchy still to this day. But the point is, of the video that I watched for 2 hours, the accountability stuff that they tried to correct since the time of John A. Macdonald has still not been done. And the RCMP's hands are literally tied, folks. It goes back to not even a ride scam. Let's go the SNC Lavalin affair. When the RCMP asked the documents from the Prime Minister's office of Justin Trudeau basically said no, and the RCMP said, okay. They couldn't press it. And it's by law, by design at this moment. Think of that. There was actual corruption. Jody Wilson-Raybould, the first Indigenous female Justice Minister of Canada, was pressured not to have a pressure to try and push a bill in so that these companies can get away with it. And she refused, basically. I mean, that story's old as dirt right now, but you get what I'm saying. The corruption in this government is insane. I'm at the 30-minute mark, and I guess that's why I kind of petered out with my voice there. I'm just going to take a quick break and have a slurp. Good old coffee. I don't like wasting stuff. The coffee's still good. Coffee cold is nice. I slurp on it all day long, basically coffee. Yeah, it's nuts. And we, people, again, I'd like you to emphasize this. Please read more. I mean, if you're not on X, I highly recommend to get on X. I don't do Facebook. I don't do Instagram. I mean, I do watch stuff on YouTube and Rumble and all these other video channels. But the news stuff and information, I mean, what I like about X is in the upper right corner, there's a search bar. If I need to look up something, I just type in what I want to look up, and I can scroll through and find the information I need. It is that simple. Is it honest and hopefully true? I like to think it is, because the variety of stuff that's out there and you can look at and check. There are people in the comment section that will tell you this is bullshit, this is true, right? There's just a lot of ways to get information out there. I like X, and to get information, I should say, not to get out information like my video. But irregardless, people, the dude in the housecoat, don't take my word for it. Go read, go check stuff out. That's all I can honestly say. Please do it. Don't really take my word for it. Anything that I've mentioned that piques your interest, such as the data centers and how much energy they use and water they need to run properly, and how much energy deficient this country has become because we're getting rid of the coal power plants and trying to do wind and solar in a country that, while it's almost winter, 7 months of the year, where snow can cover these solar panels. So how do they actually get to go if there's snow on it? You have to wipe them off, right? And why are we clearing farmland and forests to make solar plants when we can, a car park in like Marlborough Mall could have a roof over these vehicles that collect the sunshine so that people, we make electricity. The mall gets a little electricity. You got an electric vehicle. Well, you could just plug it into the mall. It's got solar power. Much better than the natural gas that's being used, or the coal, right? We could do a whole lot better with a whole lot of stuff. And yet, we're not. I mean, you look at the recent climate initiative thing that they had down in Brazil. They made a 4-lane highway in the middle of the woods in their neck of the world, destroyed vegetation, made a 4-lane highway to a multi-million-dollar facility for the ivory tower elite people to hang out and try and lecture the rest of us on how to live. Please stop. You're not doing anything at all but making the country and the world worse, and a few people richer, such as Bill Gates and a few others. They get rich off of this. Same with a host of others, folks. All I know is that we people are being used up, and if we don't put our foot down and say no to the government, That's all you have to say is no. Tell your MLA, I don't like the direction of the country. Please stop, let's say, for example, this mass migration of people. Or please stop the influx of drugs coming into this country. Or please let us have castle home defense laws again. Let's pack and carry. I'm a big fan of that. I think a lot of issues in this world would be, if, as far as crime goes, if people are allowed to have a loaded firearm on their side, I think less people will be stealing and stuff. No weird. I don't want to say we're going to have the Wild West. We already have the Wild West. I have watched today and yesterday another new citizen coming here. Again, folks, if you remember what I might have said earlier in the video, this is a student visa person, basically. He is from India, and I'm not trying to mock the guy or whatever. This is what I don't like of this person. He is shooting off a shotgun for no reason other than to shoot it off. Just pumping action and shooting it into the air while he's sitting off the edge of his car, which is like almost a brand new Mustang. How does a student from India afford that one? But it's the image of the guns and him shooting it off, and the lack of accountability from our RCMP, the Ontario Provincial Police, or if it's in BC, like in Surrey, where I've seen a whole host of videos, again, of the same type of people from India. I'm not trying to be racist, it's just that it's obvious that that's where they're from, and they're Indians. And I don't mean to be mean to them or anything else like that, but why do I see videos of wedding parties where they're shooting off semi-automatic AK-47 style guns with big banana clips, folks, big banana clips, or even almost like an AR or a 15 or whatever, like with the tripod and everything else like that? Why do they seem to have all these weapons? Why is it that when the World Sikh Organization in Ontario had their huge rally to vote for an independent Palestinian state, two members were charged with having an illegal loaded firearm, and their charges were dropped and thrown out the next day? Meanwhile, let's just use her name, the Métis grandmother who was a part of the convoy up for mischief. The trial was, how long did that take, folks? Years and all that. And she got hauled off from Medicine Hat by two homicide detectives from Ottawa who flew all the way to Medicine Hat, Alberta to pick her up and drag her off to Ontario so she can be in solitary confinement. But meanwhile, not too recently, a group of men who were Middle Eastern were targeting young Jewish girls to kidnap, had semi-automatic handguns and little machine gun, basically, as well. They're released. I think the government fears certain people and allows others to thrive. There is a video that I haven't watched yet, and I've been meaning to watch it. It basically describes how the governments in this country and around the world are using a method of divide and conquer, where the criminals get away with stuff and the citizenry who speaks up gets thrown in jail. China does it a lot. I watch a lot on China. Don't know exactly why my fascination of China is even there, but it is, and I'm telling you, it is atrocious to see governments throw decent people into the jail while allowing criminals to walk free. I mean, I don't want to say the word, but a certain colored person had his sentence reduced for having too much fun with the opposite sex of an unwilling partner, gets a reduced sentence because of the color of his skin. Make that make sense, folks. I feel bad for the women who had their trials delayed or canceled because they wanted to nail Pat King, Tamara Lynch, Jeremy McKenzie, all these other people that are in the Freedom Convoy, the big red driver, the big red truck guy, Chris Barber. They tried to take his truck away, and thankfully the government of Ontario, the judge says, no, you can't do that. But the government went after him, and he wanted to take his livelihood away by taking his truck away because it was a symbol to the Freedom Convoy. Well, that truck is a big, beautiful truck, and Chris Barber still drives it, thankfully. Thank you, Chris, for standing up to the government. Thank you, Tamara Lynch. Thank you, Jeremy McKenzie, and a whole host of other people that were involved in the Freedom Convoy. Thank you to Andy Lee for exposing things. Thank you for the pleb for bringing things up. Thank you to Viva La Fry. I know I'm saying a lot of names, but these are independent media people or Canadian citizens the government decided to crush. And you know what? With Bill C9 coming up and the government, I may be the next person the government decides to crush because I'm just being a dude in the housecoat speaking about issues that are affecting Canadians and maybe other worldly issues as well. You know, I mean, you just think, I mean, I wanted to talk about it and I will talk about it here briefly. It's the Bondi Beach incident. And I'm really sad to see the scone is lit for all that were affected by the Bondi tragedy. And what was the government's response was white supremacy is the problem. Legal gun owners are the problem. And when I looked into the issue, dived down and found out a whole host of stuff, such as the Australian people allowed them to come in. They allowed the son of the father to come into this country who was on a terrorist watch list, basically. They allowed them to have firearms without watching them, basically. They were at a Gas the Jew event. And I really hate to put it that way because I think that three-letter word is going to get spiked and I might lose people to see this because I said that word, such as other words, such as climate change. But I'm not too worried about the climate change aspect. I do know because of AI, algorithm, and that they listen in, that they pick up on keywords and they will suppress my video or increase it, depending on whatever it is. So, again, the Bondi incident. You know, white supremacy is the problem, they say. It's the rise of anti-Islamic stuff. But it was the Jews that were targeted, folks. And that's sad on a religious faith. But somebody from outside the country living in Australia on the goodness of the people of Australia's hearts and dreams and hopes of a country. They allowed these people in. And these people shit on the country by what? Shooting innocent people celebrating Hanukkah or the start of Hanukkah. And the Prime Minister of Australia is an asshat. I won't say his name because it's not worth mentioning. He should resign. And honestly, folks, the best way to fix the problems in the country is to go after the people that are troublemakers. Not the guy that wants to go hunt his grouse or a moose or likes to target shoot with his children or whatever, right? Honest, law-abiding hunters and sport shooters are not the problem. The criminals are, like the ones that I mentioned that had guns, whether they're from India or the people that were from the Middle East targeting the young Jewish girls. They were hoping to do atrocious things to, folks. They wanted to harm somebody in Canada because they practiced a faith of a religion. And meanwhile, over on the other side of the world where their actual atrocities are, they don't want to go after those people that may be doing bad things to their people, such as like the Israeli. Like, go to Palestine. Go there. Don't pick on an innocent person who has a faith in this country, who has nothing to do with the world over there. Don't punish that person. What is that young girl going to be able to do to Benjamin Netanyahu when she's, like, what is she going to say to Benjamin? Please stop it. Benjamin going to say no? No, he's not. He's a hardline war hawk, so to speak. And I can go on about more stuff that I found out about Benjamin, but he is a war hawk who doesn't care about innocent people, in my view, and he wants to grow Israel to their greater Israel project. I will say that. And the people in Palestine are in the middle of it, and they should be able to live in peace. But figure this one out, folks. Why are all these refugees being dumped into Western countries? I'll tell you why. It's a lot of these neighboring Middle East countries don't want the Palestinians because they're a problem. And yet we import them into our country. They have no problem taking our benefits and shitting on us. I hate that part. I mean, I wish they came here and, tried to make a life for themselves in a community. You can have little Syria for all I care, but be Canadian, pay your taxes, and don't shit on anybody, right? Don't take away our Merry Christmas. Don't take away anything that's already Canadian, so to speak, or what we practice here to begin with. You're welcome here, just don't shit on us, right? please, if you want to be here, be productive. Try and help out and stuff. Don't leech on the taxpayers and send your money back home. Or if you're a refugee, oh, I'm fleeing the violence of my country, but you go there on a vacation. This is a wild start. And I'm going to end this show really soon because it's the longest I've ever talked. And I like to listen to the show afterwards so I could pick up on what I might have missed, things that I thought about to say and all that kind of stuff. But in Europe, and I would say it's Sweden, approximately 83% of the refugees that have fled their war-torn countries go back home to have a vacation. Life can't be that bad there then. They like the Western benefits, folks. They like that they can come to our country and live the way that they choose to live and shit on us. I hate to say that. There are decent ones out there, but those ones are far and few between that I notice, and I wish I could notice more. Those good people. And I hope the success wherever they live, if they're trying to better themselves because they're left a place that was war-torn, atrocious, whatever it may be. But don't come and take advantage of another nation and then shit on it. That is just awful. Like all these people that I see online that aren't really truly Canadian, so to speak, like born here, like myself and all that. My dad wasn't born here, but my dad has been here a very long time, and he's very Canadian in his ways, I believe, and stuff. But if you come here and try and tell me how to live, well, you just left India, and you still don't know where to put the garbage. Well, don't tell me how to live in my country. We have a beautiful country, and it deserves to stay beautiful, and I don't want it trashed anymore. Hence why I'm doing a show, Dude in a Housecoat, housecoat chat, whatever you want to call it. Remember, folks, I'm going to end it here near the scone is lit for the atrocities around the world, for a loved one you may be missing, such as myself, for people of inspiration that have moved on as a remembrance, so that, I keep the show going in a positive frame of mind, because the world is awful, and I don't want to be negative. There's a lot of negativity out there, and that's what my show hopefully will not be about, is a lot of negativity. I just want you to open your minds and read more. Don't just take my word for it. Go out there and look. Also, positive vibes, of course. I like to say that. And I never said it the last show, and I always try and say it every show, is if you haven't been to an SPCA, go out once, at least in your life. You don't have to adopt, but go check it out, make a donation, and maybe you'll end up with a furball friend. Merry Christmas, all. I will see you soon again with a new show after Christmas. I'm just glad to get this one out of the way. It's probably my longest show that I've done since I pretty much started this. Anyways, yes, this is Justice Truth, Dude in a Housecoat. Read more, people. Look up stuff. And thank you. Merry Christmas. I'm losing my voice. Excuse me.